Okay, so I'm going to show you how to glue two bits of wood together to make this body blank. Here's our two pieces. To be joined like this. You don't need a very expensive vise. This kind of thing's just perfectly adequate. Clamp it to the bench. So the idea is here, although this has already been over the surfacer, the machines never do 100%. If I put a straight edge on, you can see high spots. Hold the straight edge really gently and rock it, and it will show up, it will pivot on the high spots. If you want, you can mark the high spots with a pencil, kind of creating a contour map. When you're getting something straight like this, there's nothing you can do about low spots. All you can do is remove the high spots, okay? So we find the high spots. There's only two skills involved. One is finding the high spots, and the other is removing the high spots. So I've shown you how to find them with a straight edge. Now I'm going to show you how to remove the high spots. There's a few tools that I use. Please don't try and do it with a plane. Unless you're really proficient with a plane, you're going to struggle. This is difficult. It needs to be super sharp. You need to really know what you're doing. Most books will tell you to use a plane. I'm going to show you something different. We're going to use various shaped sanding blocks. These are just offcuts of wood with sandpaper stuck. Just quickly tell you how that's done. I use this adhesive sandpaper. It's sticky on one side. Just stick it on. And then we use a blade to trim off the excess. If you haven't got adhesive sandpaper, you can just use ordinary sandpaper. We just put a dust coat of spray fix on the paper and the block, and then they'll stick almost instantly. It might take 30 seconds or so. Trim it with a blade, you've got your block. I'm using 80 grit sandpaper for this, and I've got various size blocks all ready to go, including a long one. So one more little trick. This is Guitar Maker's trick. This is a brand new razor blade straight out of the packet. It's fairly sharp, but we're going to use it as a scraper to take off the high spots. It doesn't work particularly well straight out the box. So what we do is get a sharpening stone and hold it at 90 degrees vertical and just a couple of rubs. What it does is it creates a little burr underneath, which works fantastically like a microplane. Watch this. Can you see these are like little planer flakes. Beautiful. So in this fashion you can remove the high spots. I'm scraping off where the pencil was, and then I'll check it again. That's almost perfect. So the blocks are really good for getting it straight in this direction. We're going to use a variety of blocks. Smaller ones are good for working in small areas. So the blocks, a block is excellent for getting it straight in this direction, but it does tend to round it off slightly. So the blade is excellent for getting it flat in this direction. Ideally what we want to see is just a tiny, tiny gap, just a hair of light underneath, not too much, but we do this to both pieces, and then when they go together, then this edge and the back edge, they touch, and so you get a perfect glue line along both pieces. Okay, so I've already done this piece. This piece is looking good. Also, we need to check that it's square this way. So these are both looking good, they're ready to join. This can take 20 minutes or it can take 2 hours, so get practicing. I'm now going to show you how to glue them together. So here are my clamps for gluing the body blank. Whenever we're doing any gluing, we always dry clamp first. there's some good reasons for dry clamping. That is, I don't have to go running around the workshop looking for glue. Looking for clamps while the glue's drying. And it means that the clamps are all set up ready to go. And it also means I get a chance to visually check everything looks okay before we put any glue on. So there's my piece dry clamped. I'm happy with that, so now I'm going to go ahead and glue it. Undo the clamps a turn. Now I'm going to apply glue. You can apply glue to just one piece or both pieces, doesn't really matter, as long as you put enough glue on. Now the quantity of glue required is just enough to get squeeze out all the way along. Roughly this quantity of glue. This is yellow glue. You can just as well use ordinary white wood glue, but this yellow glue, it dries faster and harder, which is great for musical instruments. I'm using an old credit card or phone top-up card to spread the glue. Notice I've notched it. So I'll just spread this around. You don't want any dry spots at all. Make sure it's wet all over. Now we can drop them down. You slide it up and down a few times and you can feel it start to grip. And then you can see the glue squeeze out all the way along already. I'm just going to tighten the clamps up gently. What we don't want to do is hoif up one side super tight. What will happen is it will twist. So we just do it gently, little bit by little bit, until we're happy. We want to get them as flat as possible, but you always end up with a little step, which will need to be planed off, sanded flat later. So that's in position. Actually, if you give it just a minute or two just to start to grab, it doesn't slide about so much. So that's my body blank, ready to go. I will just clean that off with a rag. Job done.